Sophie had always been the quiet one in class. At 14, she was a voracious reader, but English was her biggest challenge. Despite spending hours on her books, she could never seem to get the hang of the complicated grammar rules and vast vocabulary. Every time she tried to learn new words, they would slip away from her, just as quickly as they arrived. One rainy afternoon, Sophie was reading in her room, curled up in her favorite chair. The book in her hands was an English textbook her mother had bought her. English for Everyone. Sophie had read the first chapter countless times, but the words never seemed to stick. The text was full of grammar explanations and dry exercises that left her feeling frustrated. But that day was different. As Sophie flicked through the pages, something unusual caught her eye. Nestled between two pages was an old, weathered bookmark that she hadn't noticed before. It wasn't her usual bookmarker. This one was made of gold, with intricate patterns running through it, almost as if it had a story of its own. Sophie picked it up curiously, and as soon as her fingers touched the bookmark, a soft, almost imperceptible glow shimmered across its surface. A small folded note tucked behind it fluttered to the ground. Sophie opened it carefully, reading aloud the words written in elegant, flowing script. "This bookmark is magical. It will help you learn English, but only if you believe in it." Sophie blinked. It seemed silly. Magical bookmarks didn't exist. But there was something about the way the words were written that made her pause. She glanced at the book in her hands, then back at the bookmark, which seemed to shimmer under the soft light from her lamp. "All right," she said to herself with a chuckle. "Let's see what this bookmark can do." Sophie inserted the bookmark into her textbook and resumed reading, skeptical but entertained by the thought. But as she read the next page, something strange happened. A few words she didn't understand, like indispensable and meticulous, suddenly shimmered on the page in gold, as if highlighting themselves. Sophie's heart skipped a beat. She read the words again. They glowed even brighter. Without thinking, Sophie grabbed her dictionary from the shelf and looked up the words. To her surprise, the definitions were clear, and the sentences made much more sense. It was as if the words were suddenly alive, helping her understand them more fully. The next day, Sophie went back to her English for Everyone book, determined to test the bookmark's magic again. Sure enough, the bookmark had moved to a different page. She hesitated for a moment, then decided to dive in. As she read the passage, the bookmark highlighted more words she had trouble with before. She looked up their meanings and began to incorporate them into her daily conversations. It was the beginning of a routine. Every day, Sophie would spend an hour reading, with the bookmark guiding her through the new vocabulary. As the weeks passed, Sophie noticed something even more remarkable. The magic of the bookmark wasn't just in highlighting the words, it was in her growing confidence. She found herself speaking more fluently in class, her once quiet voice now ringing clear and sure. Her classmates started to notice too. They asked her how she was able to learn English so quickly, and Sophie, with a mischievous grin, would simply say, "I have a secret helper." Her teacher, Mrs. Mitchell, noticed Sophie's improvement as well. One day after class, she pulled Sophie aside. "I've been so impressed with how much you've improved, Sophie. What's your secret?" Sophie smiled and tapped her book with a wink. "A little bit of magic." Mrs. Mitchell chuckled. "Well, whatever it is, keep it up. You're doing great." Sophie didn't tell anyone about the bookmark, but she was secretly grateful for it. It had become a part of her daily routine, a little reminder that sometimes the right tools can make all the difference. But over time, she realized something. The bookmark was helping her, yes, but it was her own hard work and determination that truly made her succeed. The bookmark had only sparked the belief in herself that she could learn. The rest was all Sophie. One evening, as she was finishing her daily reading, she noticed something different. The bookmark had moved to the very last page of the book. The words on that final page shimmered brightly, but as Sophie read them, they seemed more like a goodbye than anything else. "You've done it, Sophie. You've unlocked the magic within you. Now go and share it with the world." Sophie held the bookmark in her hand and smiled. She had learned so much more than just English. She had learned the value of persistence, of believing in herself, and of finding joy in the process of learning. The bookmark had given her the tools, but it was her spirit and dedication that had turned them into something real.